Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to the Fruit Grisaia. As usual, let me
続けますね。
load my game real quick before we start off. Last time we finished off Yumiko's flashback, and it took quite a while. I think it took me like 3 hours to finish the whole flashback. This is only a couple of days after. Let me actually
ロ
check
ー
real
ドし
quick.
ますね。
9:14, and this is 9:18. So this is 4 days after. I'm gonna make a couple of videos today before I jump on my turbo trainer and do some cycling. Because on 9/18, it seems there's going to be, or it seems to be celebrating women's 100 Rafa kilometers or something like that. And I think this is the 10th year. So pretty exciting. So I'm gonna be doing like 100 kilos after this. Gonna take like maybe 3.5 hours. No, not too hard of a ride, but it's gonna be pretty chill while I watch some anime. But all right, what was I thinking about when I was going through the flashback? I think I said mostly what I needed to say about how this is just me trying to kind of retrace my steps back when I was younger when I played this route. Like I said, I think a lot of the choices that Yumiko did, I didn't fully agree with. And when I was younger, I kind of felt like, man, this is like not as interesting as all the other routes too. Like, being abandoned by your family. Sure, it's a very, what is it? Like, it's a very distraughting feeling, and I feel pity for the girl, but it's not as uncommon as all the other girls, right? At least that's what I think. And to some degree, I still think that now, but like I said, I'm a lot more sympathetic. I can definitely understand why she even tried to believe in the lie that the dad was trying to project. But all right, enough of my like blabbering. Let's continue with the story. A personality starts off as something like a cube. When we're young, we clumsily bump our corners against other people in the form of childish conflicts. Eventually, our sharp edges are worn away to leave something more like a sphere. That's more or less what people are describing when they say someone's softened. Moderate collisions with others help us mature, but when those first impacts are too strong, they can have a different effect. Instead of losing our corners little by little, we splinter in strange, harsh ways, warping into crooked shapes. Once crooked, it's hard to become a sphere. Even as the people around them mellow, their sharpness only grows harsher, and everyone who approaches ends up getting hurt. But even the most warped human beings start the same as everyone else. Sometimes they look back on the past and grieve. Sometimes they wonder if it's not too late to reshape themselves. And because they know that that's an empty dream, they grieve once again. Sakaki Yumiko is one of many such sad, distorted objects. I personally think it's never too late to change. People who say that it's too late, they probably just make excuses for themselves. The rain, which I'd taken for a passing shower, continued long after the thunder passed away. By the time we leave our cover in the lingering drizzle, the sun's already set. In a change from the usual routine, I hurry down the road home with an arm wrapped around Sakaki, who stumbles along unsteadily at my side.
雨、結局止まなかったわね。
Unfortunately, the rains are very weak by now, but the constant dampness has left her body noticeably chilled. And at the moment, her emotional state is a bit of a concern as well. I lean closer over Sakaki as we walk, sheltering her from the rain as best I can. The that relatively brief journey back to the dorm feels awfully long right now.
あ、帰ってきた。どうしたの？ずいぶん遅かったじゃん。榊さんどうしたの？何か怪我とかしたとか？
Amane yelps in surprise the instant she lays eyes on us. Was it that much of a shock to see me holding Sakaki by the shoulder? Well, considering the girl's normal personality, I suppose it's only reasonable to jump straight to assuming something's physically wrong with her. We got caught in that downpour, that's all. We sheltered from the rain for a while.
それで雨に濡れちゃったのね。榊さん、大丈夫？ごめんなさい。心配をかけたわね。
Her physical condition aside, Sakaki seems badly drained in spirit. That uncharacteristic weakness from before is still plainly evident in her tone of voice.
体冷えたでしょ？何か温かいものでも飲む？用意するけど。ありがとう。それじゃあ、お言葉に甘えていただくわ。了解。4時は榊さんを部屋まで連れて行って、後で持っていくから。
Appreciate it.
いいわよ、これぐらい。それよりほら、早く。
I'm making a note. Once I'm old and gray, I'm going to write Amane was like a mother to us all in my memoirs.
お礼のつもりだったら、吹き込むような表記はマジ勘弁して。
I was actually listening to the Grisaia soundtrack when I was at the gym a couple of days ago. It's pretty nice. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. I was actually listening the OST on repeat. Actually, some of the ending themes make me pump. As soon as I got Sakaki to her room, she collapsed into her bed. Normally, she would have ejected me to change out of her wet clothes, but she's currently lacking the energy and willpower to bother.
よほど疲れてたのね。もう寝ちゃったわよ、榊さん。
Yeah. The hot orange and honey drink Amane provided seemed to calm Sakaki down. It didn't take long at all for her to nod off. I think she's got a slight fever as well. We were out in the rain and all.
みたいね。ちょっと暑いかな。
Lightly holding her hand to Sakaki's forehead, Amane nods in agreement. Sakaki doesn't seem to be in any real discomfort, but I can tell that she's breathing a little roughly. In any case, thanks for the help, Amane. I'm going to keep an eye on her for a little longer, but you can head back to your room. Amane's response seems oddly hesitant. What's wrong?
ねえ、ユージ。
Oops, sorry. Yes?
あのさ、分かってるとは思うけど、やっちゃダメだからね。
Do you really think I would do that to some girl who's defenseless, Amane? The hell?
だからさ、二人っきりじゃん？看病してるわけじゃない？そしたらなんかこう、ついでにしちゃったら大変だし、その、風邪うつっちゃったら大変かなって。
Is that really the type of person you think Yuji is, Amane? Jeez. My face falls into my palm. For some reason, I find myself recalling a gag brain graph website Sachi showed me once. Just by entering someone's name, you'd get a brain-shaped pie chart breaking down the composition of their thoughts. I didn't think to try Amane at the time, but I think hers would be divided in half right down the middle. One side would be folksy grandma wisdom, the other, I should probably go without saying, would be branded with the word ticks. You think I'm going to start making babies like a rabbit the moment someone leaves me in a cage with a female? Tell me, woman, does this scenario play out frequently inside that filthy mind of yours?
だから、大事に至らないように釘刺しておこうっていうことよ。わかるでしょ、そういうの。
It's still not entirely clear to me what Amane is so worried about, but I find it extremely unpleasant to have such aspirations cast on my character. Aspersions. Not a bad idea, come to think of it.
何がよ。
Just remembered something I read in a book discussing novel varieties of sexual intercourse. It seems a slight fever actually increases the natural heat of the genitalia, sometimes leading to greater pleasure for both partners. Alright then, might as well put that to the test. It's not like you can catch a fever intentionally, and I'll admit to being highly curious as a man. I'm sure Sakaki will understand. A little experimentation like this can only enrich your life, right? She might end up thanking me for expanding her horizons. The thought hadn't even occurred to me, but thanks to a tip from my sexually savvy friend Amane, a new world of possibility awaits. Life is always overflowing with chances to explore the wonders of the unknown. I'm deeply impressed by your ability to keep that in mind, even at a time like this. Thank you, Amane. Amane? Amane stares back at me with the blank eyes of a broken electronic toy. Smiling brightly, I give her a friendly thump on the shoulder. It was a joke. Amani's karate chop lands a critical hit smack in the middle of my weary head. From outside, an owl hoots in mournful commiseration.
じゃあ、私そろそろ戻るけどさ、本当にダメだからね。そっとしとかないと。
I said I understand, didn't I? Come on, get lost already.
信用ならね。
Amane backed slowly out of the room, staring at me reproachfully all the way. I was only teasing her a little in retaliation for slandering me, but it seems I've ended up deepening her unfounded suspicions. Probably best to consider the possibility she might try some half-assed wiretapping outside the door. Shaking my head, I returned to Sakaki's side. Her breath's coming regularly, a little more quietly than before. She doesn't seem to have noticed the commotion in the slightest. Well, that's definitely for the best. Borrowing the chair from Sakaki's desk, I ease myself down and look her over at closer range. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen her sleeping. The girl really does have a pretty face. She's constantly forcing it into a scowl, so it's easy not to notice at times, but Sakaki Yumiko is definitely what you'd call a beauty. Right now that face is relaxed, her eyes shut, her cheeks slightly flushed. Sakaki looks very calm and peaceful at the moment, but much of her life has been an emotional roller coaster of loneliness, hope, and anger. Now that I know the whole story, her usual prickly attitude is all too understandable. Rest easy, alright? I'll protect you. I lightly reach down to put my hand on her forehead, currently covered in a damp towel. The moisture against my palm is slightly warm from the heat of her fever. Early the next morning, I'm stretching in preparation for my usual running when I hear quiet footsteps on the stairs. A familiar look of mild surprise. However, where Sakaki's expression would normally shift to a frown, today it changes to something hesitant and uncertain. What's the matter? Your face is red. Still carrying that fever around?
失礼ね。熱ならもうとうの昔に収まったわよ。
This is what you'd call the dere mode from her usual kudere. Damn you! Damn you anime stereotypes!
収まったわよ。あなたのおかげで。
Good to hear.
昨日はいろいろとありがとう。
Personally, my kind of favorite dere, or my favorite dere is dere, which is just the typical lovey-dovey type of person. I didn't do anything worth being thanked for.
したわよ。護衛の依頼のはずなのに、あんなことを一方的に話したりして。
You asked for my permission before you started talking, and I agreed to listen. There's nothing wrong with that.
そう。
I've noticed Sakaki tends to grow oddly sullen when the topic of my job comes up, but today she seems downright docile. The girl does look healthy enough. Still, it's entirely possible yesterday's events left some lingering psychological effects. Sakaki.
何かしら。
As long as your request is in place, I'll protect you. Rest assured. That's all. Finishing my leg stretches, I stand up and check the clock. Just about time for me to be heading out. I'm going to be running for a while. Unless you need anything. Alright then. See you this afternoon. Feeling Sakaki's eyes following me from behind, I leave the dorm. I don't have much to offer Sakaki right now. A simple promise is the best I can do. Hopefully that's enough to provide some reassurance. The past can't be taken back no matter how hard you try. That's a lesson I myself learned all too well. All the more reason she has to value her present. Hopefully they've just given up, but fortunately, the threats approaching Sakaki have gone quiet for the moment. If this pattern continues, it shouldn't be hard for me to keep my promise. But they're preparing for the next attack though. I still remember what happened last episode, before the flashback. And a few days later, in an echo of Sakaki's past, the hopeful present abruptly takes a sharp turn for the worst. You alright, Sakaki? Can you keep running? So she says, but it's obvious at a glance that the girl's close to her limit. Harsh gasps for air interrupt the feeble words coming out of her mouth. Damn it. They caught me napping. Seemingly taking my words of regret as their cue, a number of men swiftly surround us. Protecting Sakaki behind my back, I confront a semicircle of attackers. This sort of scene has certainly been common enough over the last month. I kinda wish they actually have different CG based on the attackers. Kind of a shame that they only have these men in black, considering they're supposed to be new people now. But this time, our opposition is in an entirely different league. Was this what they were aiming for all along? They stopped the car above the riverbank and came down on us suddenly. Up until that point, it was the same as usual. But as my master once told me, relying on precedent is a dangerous game. Always think outside the range of your predictions. A lesson, it seems, I didn't learn nearly well enough. As I rated myself for another simple one-by-one attack, the first 3 men out of the car charged at me simultaneously. What? Caught by surprise, I faltered for just a moment. They seized their chance and executed a beautifully coordinated attack. The first 2 moved to grab my arms and legs, while the trailing man came straight at me to deliver a disabling blow. The fight would have been over in seconds if I'd misjudged the attacks from the left and right even slightly. Stooping down to avoid their grasping arms, I kicked the first man's ankle and chopped my head into the second man's liver. Since when did they attack at... Ugh! I didn't even have time to catch my breath before the third man's fist came down on me from above. Sheer reflex got my elbow up in time to block the punch, but his attacks continued in an unrelenting stream. Damn it! That hurts, asshole! This guy had some impressive back muscles, and he knew how to use them. His tightly clenched fists swung down at my head with the force of 2 massive hammers. A single direct hit would have given me a concussion at the very least, and a knockout seemed a very real possibility. Huh! With a sharp battle cry, I slipped by the hammerman's side and drove my heel into his knee. The hammer stopped in his tracks. As he reflexively reached down for his right leg, I followed up with a second kick, this time to the head. I'd somehow managed to bring down the first wave of attackers, but the dramatic change in their tactics was alarming. I could feel my heart thudding frantically in my chest. If they try that with a bigger team, it's going to get ugly. My instinctive response was to run for it with Sakaki in tow. Unfortunately, our enemies clearly anticipated that. Where they used to have their entire force charged down from the car, this time they've set up a second team further along the bank to cut off our retreat. Can't let them all attack at once or it's game over. I carefully size up the group of men surrounding us. One thing's immediately clear. There's not going to be an easy way out this time. Listen up, Sakaki.
Nani?
I'm going for a preemptive strike. Once I open a gap in their perimeter, make a run for it. I'll keep them off your back. There's no time to debate this. Let's go. I break into a sprint, heading for a point where 3 of the 5 men surrounding us can easily move to intercept. As expected, they instantly launch a simultaneous attack, aiming to trap me in a pincer. There we go. I dodged grasping arms from the left and right at the very last possible moment, slipping forward to leave 2 of the men charging directly at each other. The pair of dark-suited men jerked to an unsteady halt like a pair of outfielders chasing the same fly ball. Seizing the moment, I grabbed them by the legs and flipped them off their feet. I wish this scene was actually animated in the anime, but I don't think they did. Because what the anime did was like, each girl had a maybe like 1 or 2 episode route based stories, and after that they have like a movie or something for Meikyu, and then like a 6 episode for Rakuen. I forgot. But they really did Grisaia a disservice by only putting it like 13 episodes on the, at least on Kajitsu. The two men hit the ground head first with a satisfying pair of thunks. Before I can even confirm they're staying down, their buddies got a sleeper chokehold on me from behind. Ugh. But I'd seen this coming from the moment he started circling around behind me. I bent back into the hold, then strained my abdominal muscles and swinging my body sharply forward. Toss over my shoulder in a throw you might see in a judo competition. The man flies a good 2 meters forward before landing face first in the dirt. That's 3 taken care of. Now all I need to do is keep the 2 coming from behind occupied long enough for Sakaki to get clear. Alright, now, run Sakaki! Hurry up! Still shooting reluctant glances in my direction, Sakaki begins to run along the riverbank. The other 2 attackers quickly try to slip past me and pursue her. Not happening. As the pair splits apart to either side, I hurl a stone tied to a heavy string toward the feet of the faster runner. Tripped up by the cord, the man turns a somersault in the air and lands awkwardly on the ground, one arm crunching loudly underneath him. Even as I'm confirming that he's down, I've begun to grapple with his partner. Kuh. The moment we come to grips, it's clear to me that I've left the most troublesome one of the bunch for last. His physique didn't particularly stand out in this group, but he's got dense muscles and an excellently balanced body. This is exactly his sort of fight. I was hoping to take him down smoothly and catch up with Sakaki, but guess that's not happening. I can only pray Sakaki manages to get out of here on her own. Damn, that's actually a lot longer than I thought. It was only ... He's actually still breathing. Holy shit. Silent except for his intermittent breathing, the man moves his body back and forth in a variety of ways, probing for a gap in my defenses. It's a far cry from the frantic wriggling of an amateur. Every movement has meaning. I can't let down my guard for even a moment. Please, get out of here. Keeping half an eye on Sakaki, I desperately hold him in check. And just as she's finally reaching the foot of the slope, distracted by the fight behind her, Sakaki stumbles over a heavy patch of undergrowth and falls to the ground. Sakaki! For a split second, her scream distracts me. Dizzyingly intense pain shoots through my left arm. He got me. I can feel the skin of my arm rapidly growing hot, as I suddenly plunge into a tub of boiling water. A small glinting silver knife sticks straight out of my forearm like some absurd work of modern art. My grip on the man weakens against my will. In an instant, he's broken free of the grapple. The corners of his mouth curl up in something vaguely resembling a smile as he turns his attention to Sakaki. Sakaki scrabbles frantically across the ground, her face distorted with terror. As if savoring the moment, the man begins to lope toward her at a relaxed pace. His first moment of carelessness. I won't let you. With one sharp yank, I tear the knife out of my arm, then hurl it at the man's ankle. Jeez. The man collapses onto the ground and reaches down for his wounded leg. Before he can get his hands around the knife, I straddle him and smash a fist into his solar plexus. Gastric juice spraying from his mouth, the man loses consciousness. I can feel blood flowing rapidly out of my body. Abruptly released from the tension of the fight, exhausted and bleeding, I look up to find the world swaying before my eyes. Sakaki arises to her feet and runs over. Staring wide-eyed at the blood streaming down my arm, She presses her hands to her mouth, speechless with horror. I'm fine. You need to get out of here, Sakaki. Hurry.
こんなあなた
It'll be alright once I stop the bleeding. Get moving. There might be more where those guys came from. Completely ignoring my repeated instructions to run, Sakaki reaches into her breast pocket, takes out a handkerchief, and holds it to my wound. The pure white piece of cloth is quickly dyed bright red.
こんなに血が
Her anguished expression distorts still further. I've heard people say women are a little less queasy around blood because of their regular menstrual cycle, but I doubt that makes an injury like this any less surreal and terrifying.
どこを止血すればいいの私も詳しくないから教えて
I'm telling you, it's fine. Right now, you need to...
あなた一人残せるわけがないでしょ早く
Sakaki's face is filled with uncharacteristically raw and obvious emotion. But then again, lately I've seen quite a few human expressions starting to leak out from behind that indifferent front of hers. In any case, there's no point letting this circular argument drag on forever. We're just wasting time at this point. Fine. Tie it tightly just under the elbow.
え
Sorry about the handkerchief, but keep it over the wound itself for now. There should be bandages in my bag. Can you wrap one over the entire area?
分かったわ
Appreciate it. With my guidance, Sakaki performs some rudimentary first aid. Soon, I'm back on my feet. The blood loss has left me more than a little lightheaded, but we nonetheless hurry along the road home as quickly as possible. After all, there's no telling what else those people might have planned. The old rules clearly no longer apply. Sakaki hasn't spoken a word, most likely out of concern for me. It's painfully obvious that she's worried, but that only makes this feel even worse. Pathetic. What kind of a bodyguard makes the client worry about them? For the moment, I've got to get us back to safe ground and plan some immediate countermeasures. Their tactics have changed on a fundamental level. We can't get away with the usual routine anymore. Across from the red glow of the setting sun, a flock of black rain clouds push threateningly into the sky, as if they reinforce the looming threat. Looks like it's going to be another rainy night.
そうか。傷は負わせることに成功したんだな。次は確実に仕留めろ。ああ、やむを得ん状況ならば殺しても構わん。由美子が暴れるようなら無理にでも車に押し込めて連れてこい。いいな。邪魔はさせん。私は私のやりたいようにやるのだ。私の言うことを聞け、由美子。
おかえちょっと
The guy clearly has some issues with, control, or at least being dominant. Understandably, it doesn't take long for Amane to notice that something's wrong. I mean, someone like Yumiko's dad is actually pretty common here in the world. Someone who has a lot of money. They don't really care too much about their surroundings, just themselves. It's a pretty common occurrence. Practically... Wait, did I actually read this? Understandably, it doesn't take long for Amane to notice that something's wrong. Practically the moment we're inside the dorm, her shocked voice attracts the attention of everyone lounging around in the lobby. As they run up, the blood seems to drain from their faces.
これどうしたのよさお兄ちゃん包帯が真っ赤です血で何事故とかそれとも何かあったのねえ
The lazy summer evening quickly gives way to a borderline panic.
とりあえず病院へ連絡した方がいいそれとも連れて行こうか
No. There are some complicated circumstances, so I'd prefer not to make too much of a scene. A little treatment here should be enough. Sachi?
はい
Sorry, but can you help me out?
はいわかりました今すぐ私も手伝うわお湯とか沸かせばいいんだっけみちる様お子さんを産むわけではありませんでも清潔なタオルとかそういうのは必要です
What did she say? Boiled water? Okay.
Okay!
I mean, technically, if it's to disinfect the wound, you can use boiled water. Unless you have some alcohol lying around. Sachi and Michiru noisily dash back to their respective rooms. Guess I'll head to my room for the moment. Sakaki, would you help me over there?
ええ、もちろんよ。
Appreciate it.
部屋に行って詳しい話を聞くしかなさそうね。妙な匂いがプンプンなのよさ。
A few minutes after Sakaki helped me into bed, Sachi treats my wound with the skill of an experienced nurse. It's no worse than what I would have gotten at the hospital. Our mate's fearsome capabilities in this field are worthy of further examination. But, for the moment, explaining the situation to the uneasy classmates gathered around me has to come first.
なんかとんでもない話になってきたわね。
Amane responds to my brief summary with those words and a worried sigh. Everyone had some idea that Sakaki had been coming under attack, but a knife coming into play seems to have left them more than a little disturbed. I guess one of the reasons why, to me, like Yumiko's route is not that interesting is probably because we played Makina's route first, right? And like Yuji being hurt is probably normal because remember Makina, like someone actually bombed Makina's sister's car. And in Amane's case, in Amane's route, Yuji was actually shot, right? Heck, even Amane was shot in the bad end, where she was killed. That was actually a pretty brutal way to die.
ユミちゃんに何もなかったのは幸いだったのよさ。
So I guess, while this route itself is not bad, it just felt underwhelming as like a last route.
さすがは風見さんです。とはいえ、傷は心配ですが。
You don't need to worry about me. Their change in strategy just caught me by surprise today. I won't slip up like that next time.
そうなの？ユミコもユージも大丈夫って思っていいのよね。
Yeah, of course. It's a lie. An attempt to reassure them. Nothing more. The ex-military man who knifed me today was a seriously tough opponent. And the others were no slouches either. Even under ideal circumstances, it would have been a tough fight. My failure this time is only going to encourage them to double down on their tough tactics. And while they can bring in fresh bodies, my cuts and bruises are going to start slowing me down eventually. I need to start devising countermeasures sooner rather than later. Sakaki's been very quiet for a while now. Her face is distinctly downcast. It's not like she's the one who stabbed me, but since she's been known to try on occasion, it's probably better not to joke about that. Sorry, but I'm feeling a little tired. Think you could let me sleep for a while?
そっか、了解。じゃあ私らは退散するわね。
Even Amane doesn't seem eager to throw the usual banter around. Understandable under the circumstances. Sakaki, I'm sure today was a little nerve-wracking for you. Being alone might be frightening right now, so why don't you sleep over in someone else's room? Sorry, Sachi, but would you mind?
はい、わかりました。榊さん、行きましょう。わかったわ。
Let me know immediately if you notice anything suspicious. They haven't tried anything on school grounds so far, but there's no telling what comes next.
はい、了解です。
Sakaki barely said a word right up until the moment Sachi hustled her out of the room. That weighs on my mind a little, but even as I try to think it over, I feel myself sinking slowly into unconsciousness. As I sleep, I dream of Sakaki. I see her as a young girl, standing very still in absolute darkness, sobbing endlessly. When I approach, her appearance changes to the young woman I know. But the tears don't stop flowing down her face. No matter what I say to her, Sakaki stands oblivious in the darkness, crying bitter tears. Sakaki. The moment I wake up, I notice an odd sensation enveloping my left hand. The darkened room is silent, but I sense someone's presence nearby. It almost feels like a continuation of the dream, but when I move my eyes to the side, the truth becomes clear. Sakaki. I'm sure Sachi ushered her out of the room. She should be sleeping by now. Instead, she's sitting at my side.
ごめんなさい。起こしてしまったかしら。
It's alright. I got some sleep. Have you been sitting here all this time? She answers with a quiet nod.
どうしても心配だったから。小峰さんの部屋に着いてすぐ戻ってきてしまったの。
Ah,
で、ずっと握っててごめんなさい。
the strange warmth surrounding my left wrist was coming from Sakaki's hands. I don't really mind.
そう。
Sakaki's downturned eyes briefly steal a glance at my face. They're a little bloodshot, and I can see a hint of red in her cheeks. Seems that dream just now might have been accurate in a way.
本当にごめんなさい。
Stroking my hand a little, she speaks in a sincerely apologetic tone. Nothing to worry yourself over. When you're on guard duty, that sort of thing's always a possibility. Let's just be thankful no one ended up in the hospital.
でも
From the look on her face, I can tell Sakaki isn't remotely convinced by this line of argument. Look, it's nothing you need to feel guilty about. I accepted your request, so I'll put my body on the line when necessary. Even if I get a little banged up, as long as you're safe, that's a success.
成功なわけないでしょ。何を言ってるの。
All of a sudden, her quiet voice grows rough and quavery.
何を言ってるのよ。本当にこんな怪我して成功なんて。
I mean, in Yuji's line of work, I guess it doesn't matter what happens to his body. Seems I chose my words somewhat poorly. Sakaki's reached the end of her endurance. Tears, clearly not the first she shed tonight, fall onto my bandaged hand. Sakaki.
ごめんなさい。私この間からあなたに情けない姿ばかりを。
The quiet crying begins to grow in intensity. Grasping my palm tightly, Sakaki heaves with sobs like a frightened child, teardrops raining from her face. Her voice echoes loudly inside the otherwise hushed room. I guess... What is it? The problem with Sakaki or Yumiko, I guess it's not a problem. It's more the fact that these kudere types are so popular nowadays that she's following the stereotype to a T, you know? Like, the reason why she was so prickly in the first place was because she was afraid to actually make relationships and stuff like that. And now, once you actually get closer to her, she's actually the weakest out of all the girls, right? From outside the window, I can hear the faint sound of water cutting through the air. Come to think of it, the forecast today called for rain a little after midnight. It's exactly the sort of dark, ugly rain Sakaki hates so much.
怖いのよ。怖くて仕方ないの。
After a few minutes of wordless crying, those words slip out of her mouth. Of what?
私のために周囲の人がこんな目に遭うのが本当に怖くて嫌で仕方ないのよ。このままだと風見くんも寮の子たちだって私のせいで嫌な目に遭わせてしまうかもしれない。
Sakaki squeezes down tighter and tighter. A tear lands on top of her rigid, trembling hands. Then another.
もうあんなことは本当に。
Losing her mother, betrayed by her father, denied even the chance to make friends, she was pushed into a mock school built as a gilded cage. On an emotional level, it's not surprising that Sakaki finds this latest breakdown deeply painful. But that's also exactly why I want to do something for her. The job isn't easy under these circumstances, but if I can give her some peace of mind, I honestly don't mind taking a few wounds like this. Looking up at Sakaki's miserable face, I find myself regretting that I didn't manage to pass it off as a lighter injury.
あなたを風見くんをこれ以上苦しめるわけにはいかない。
Don't worry about me. I can still do my job, even if...
分かってよ。私あなたのことを本当に心配しているのよ。
Her voice is desperate, forced from the tears. I can't remember the last time I felt such powerful hatred for my own incompetence. Complete silence settles over the room. Sakaki's eyes don't leave mine. With a sorrowful expression on her face, she opens her mouth and speaks sorrowful words.
あなたを解雇します。
What was that? For a moment, I wonder if I've misheard. But she doesn't hesitate to confirm my fears.
依頼だからなのよね。私を守ってくれるのは。だからあなたを解雇します。
What are you saying? You saw those people today. Without me around, next time they'll definitely...
構わないわ。それであなたや寮のみんなが無事なら。
To be certain, although they attacked me today, their target is Sakaki alone. If I leave her side, the main threat disappears. Those dangerous goons will probably decrease in number, maybe even disappear altogether. But of course, that's simply because they'll be able to accomplish their objective even without the muscle. I swear I protect Sakaki. After making a promise like that, I can't accept a request to abandon her. Sorry, but you're still in danger. I'm not willing to shrug my shoulders and walk away. I refuse to resign.
ダメよ。強制的にでも破棄するわ。
Do you know what you're saying here? These people aren't playing around anymore. You're going to...
分かってちょうだい。
Listen to me, Sakaki.
分かってる。お願いだから。お願いだから。分かってよ。
Sakaki's expression tells the story. This isn't something she just said on the spur of the moment. It was a painful decision made after long thought. The tracks her tears have left on her face, the tightly clenched hands, that anguished inner debate has left its mark on her. But just because I understand the depth of her resolve doesn't mean I can accept this. Exactly. It's painfully frustrating to know my sloppiness drove her to such an agonizing decision. Alright, I accept your dismissal. Sakaki isn't going to budge no matter what I say. For the moment, there's no other way to give her relief. The instant I speak those words, the tension drains out of her hands.
ごめんなさい。私。
It's as if a heavy weight has fallen from her shoulders, as if she's lost something precious. A hollow excuse for a smile on her face, Sakaki continues to apologize to me. Don't apologize. You're not in the wrong. The sound of the rain outside gradually grows louder. A harsh pattering fills the dark room, cut off even from the light of the moon. As of this day, my employment with Sakaki Yumiko came to an end in the form of a dismissal. Things are no better than they were at the beginning. No one's been saved. It's the emptiest of all possible conclusions. My contract with Sakaki is at an end. I'm no longer obligated to guard her. Our classmates were uniformly surprised by the news, but they haven't pestered Sakaki about her reasons. I think they've more or less figured out why she made that painful decision. Makina, you ready to go? Amane had a shopping list too, didn't she? Don't forget it or things might get scary later. Okay, kid. You're just off character now. Don't tally-ho me. Makina? Her feet pattering noisily against the carpet, Makina heads up to Amane's room. On the other side of the lobby, Sachi's stooping slightly in the attentive pose of an old-time newspaper reporter, jotting down Sakaki's words in a small memo pad.
はい、わかりました。ごめんなさい。あまり外に出るわけにもいかないから。いいんです。遠慮されずに何でもお申し付けください。ありがとう。
At the very least, it's not like she's given up on her own protection, even if she is dismissing Yuji. But there's no scoop involved. We're going out for a shopping trip, so Sakaki is asking us to pick up a few things, just like Amane.
お待たせなのよさ。あまねえからメモもらってきた。じゃあ、風見さん、行きましょうか。
Yeah. Answering my younger classmates, I glance to the far side of the lobby. Sakaki's been reading on a sofa at the side of the large front windows for a while now. But from the desultory way she's picking through the pages, I think it's safe to say she isn't particularly focused on the story. She glances up from the page briefly. Our eyes meet from across the room. Sakaki looks away, gets to her feet, and walks off in the direction of her room.
風見さん
Right. Yeah. About time we got going. Since relieving me of my position, Sakaki hasn't set foot outside the school's walls. That's partially because of her own instinct for self-preservation, and partially because of me. The girls decided it's no longer possible to actively protect herself against the clear threat posed by those attackers. She dismissed me so I wouldn't be dragged into a losing battle on her behalf. But even after that, I've continued keeping an eye on Sakaki, if more indirectly than before. I try to keep my distance, but I'm never too far away to respond in case something happens. I think Sakaki is faintly aware of that. It's probably part of the reason she's shutting herself up in the dorm instead of going outside and making my life harder. It's not like she's come out and told me any of this, of course. But considering her behavior until now, it seems like a natural interpretation. Sakaki deviantly rejected the life of a bird in a cage, acting as she pleased even in the face of threats. But now she's locked up once again. My determination to protect this girl is part of what's now fencing her in. It's honestly pretty damn frustrating. Amane's shopping list isn't too huge today, and my young classmates only need a few things themselves, all of which we find easily enough. That said, the total time investment on this trip turns out to be fairly sizable.
ユミちゃんのオーダーは細かくてめんどっちいのよさ。
Doesn't that make it easy though? Sakaki's shopping list reflects her personality. It's neatly and methodically written, even naming specific manufacturers and product numbers. And Sachi insisted we conduct a painstaking hunt for the exact items described, so this final part of the trip is taking longer than the rest combined.
でも、ここまで細かく言っていただけると、買う方としては助かります。
Can't they just buy the stuff online? Is what I'm trying to say. Or is like what I'm thinking right now, if they have the product number already. I think that's easier. Sachi smiles peacefully, allowing the eco-friendly reusable shopping bags dangling from her hands to sway back and forth. Damn, Japan was actually using this already back during 2010 when this game came out. Because here in Indonesia, we actually only started using this a couple of years back. Maybe 3 years ago is when we started using eco-friendly shopping bags. Before, it was all plastic, man. Naturally, she brought enough of those things for all of us. Not that it's anything new, but you're sure on top of things, Sachi.
はい、備えあれば憂いなしと申しますから、すべてにおいて通じる言葉です。
Yeah, true enough. They love that cliche in my workplace too.
避妊具も常に持ち合わせていれば、あっと思った際にも慌てずに済みますよね。つまりはそういうことです。
I mean, I guess if you're a girl, as a guy, I think you don't really need it. Well, I mean, like, as a guy, you can actually not do it, you know. But as a girl, I guess that's a. Then again, I don't know. If you were like suddenly kidnapped and do stuff by other people, I don't think they're gonna bother to use any protection. I don't know. I don't know the logic behind that, Sachi. But then again, like I said, I'm one of those really old-fashioned people that wouldn't have sex unless I'm marrying the girl. Right, sure. It's a bit late to lament my role in the rising levels of vulgarity around here. But when a girl who comes off as innocence personified starts talking like this, I can't help feeling a little guilty. But then again, lately I've been starting to think a good part of the problem might lie inside Sachi herself. But as I'm considering the matter, Sachi comes to a stop with a small surprised sound. She's gazing a little way down the street with a curious expression on her face. What's wrong, Sachi? I turn to follow her gaze. What the hell is that woman doing? A certain blonde in a fairly revealing outfit has parked herself by the side of the road.
もう遅い
Ensconced. That's a word? What is that? In the driver's seat of her tacky bright yellow sports car, she kicks her bare legs into the air in a tacky display of irritation, turning every male ahead in the area. She's putting on a big show of waiting for someone, looking down at her watch with a pouty expression of boredom, occasionally even whining to her audience.
いろんなものを持て余してる感じなのよさ
An accurate evaluation. As I bring a hand to my forehead and sigh heavily, the bare-legged blonde in question turns in our direction.
Hi!
And with a greeting more appropriate for a co-ed hitchhiker stranded in the Utah Desert, she favors me with a nauseatingly sweet smile. Alright, let's go. No reason to hang around here all day. Studiously avoiding eye contact, I attempt to play dumb.
ちょっとおい何無視ってんのよこっちは1時間もこうして待ってたのよガン無視ってことはないでしょねえってば
Abruptly switching to fluent and idiomatic Japanese you'd never expect from someone with her appearance, JB calls to stop me. I obey, feeling my face settle in an expression of profound irritation. What's this? Here I was, thinking the owner of some cheap sex shop decided to announce his grand opening by renting a walking billboard bimbo. But it's just my good friend JB doing her thing. What can I do for you?
これまで功労者として多めに見てきたけどその暴言はもはや許せないわ風見裕二
Look, JB, I'm not particularly criticizing you. I have the greatest respect for your professional capabilities. All I'm saying is, given your age, it might be time to quit that hobby of wandering around town in brainless foreign slut mode, while dirty old men rape you with their eyes.
あんた絶対に次の移動でアフガンかソマリアに飛ばしてやるから覚悟しときなさいよね
That might be a nice change of pace. I'm currently unemployed, you see. Really makes you realize the importance of having a nice steady job.
は何言ってるのあなた今
Halfway through the sentence, JB bites her tongue. Sachi and Makina are at my side, and we're in the middle of a public street full of random civilians. Not exactly the time or place to discuss my job.
学生なのに無職とは面白いご身分ね
Well, I suppose not. That's why I'm enjoying a lazy summer vacation instead of polishing my resume.
ねえちょっと話があるんだけどこれから少し付き合わない
What? Right now?
ええすぐに
Sounds like another troublesome discussion awaits. JB still got a lighthearted expression on her face, but she spoke those words just now in a familiar deadpan tone of voice. From years of experience, I know it means this is somehow related to work. Sorry, but would you two mind going back first?
はいわかりましたなんだよフレッシュな小娘2人放置プレイでそっちの存在感のない金髪とんのかお兄ちゃんってそんな熟女好きだったか
Whatever, Makina.
存在感のない金髪おうちなみに存在感ある金髪ってのはチルチルのことなありゃ忘れようと思っても無理な話やで存在感
Interesting how that part bothers you more than the mature women crack.
ほらマキちゃん風見さん困ってるよわーったよわ お兄ちゃん、ちゃんとおいたせずにまっすぐ帰ってくるのよ。
Never thought Makino would be the one saying that to me. The times are truly changing.
それじゃあ春寺さん、失礼します。風見さん、先に戻りますね。
Sorry about that. Sachi promptly leaves, dragging a grumbling Makina along with her.
存在感ないかな。結構目立つと思ってたんだけどな。
Maybe your physical appearance, JB, but personality? Maybe not the strongest. Don't take the kid's crap seriously. Come on, let's get going already. Why is it that all the women in my life, regardless of age and personality, uniformly manage to give me headaches? Sakaki's begun to shut herself up in her room. Obviously, her visits to the riverbank has stopped as well. After a few minutes zipping down country roads in JB's ridiculously flashy car, the two of us take a seat near the otherwise deserted area where the incidents occurred.
そう。やっぱり個人的に護衛を頼まれていたのね。
And I wasn't specifically restricted from accepting, but in any case, it's been over for a few weeks now, for a few days now. For the moment, I explained the details of my recent unemployment to JB. I'd expected her to be a little more surprised about Sakaki's request and my decision to accept it, but she doesn't even bat an eyelid. Kind of kills my momentum. I suppose JB may have done a little investigation on her own as part of this whole thing with Sakaki's father.
ほら、お弁当作ってきたのよ。食べる？
That's kinda awkward, but okay. Once I've more or less finished my story, JB pushes a prettily wrapped lunchbox in my direction. Sandwiches, eh? Wise choice, Julia. I suppose even you'd be able to make these without turning the kitchen into too much of a disaster zone. The weirdly girlish packaging is also a little painful to look at, but I decided best to keep that particular thought to myself.
あのね、ユージ。あれから私だって多少は料理も上達した。って食べる前に一言ぐらい言ってから食べなさいよ。
Hmm? I did say something. Didn't you hear me?
もう。
Why the exasperation? I'll apologize if I did something wrong.
もういいわよ。食べながらでいいから、ちょっと話を聞きなさい。
JB retrieves a small notebook from her black file case, her voice shifting to a businesslike tone. As directed, I listened carefully while chewing away at her egg sandwiches.
先日、市ヶ谷の本家で人事異動があったのは知ってるわね。
Yeah, they sent a message around. The chief of staff resigned and they appointed a successor, right?
いつもの勢力争いの結果だけどね。ただちょっと困ったことがあって、後任となった門間陸将補は国交省と強いパイプを持っている人間で、主に私鉄関連の財界人と深い交流を持っていたの。
What the hell is an MLIT? Oh, see, if this was the translation patch back in my day, there'd be like an explanation of what MLIT is on the top right.
陸将補は早速こちらに接触してきたわ。異例なのよね。お偉方が就任早々、私たちみたいな下々のことに気をかけるなんて。何か理由がない限り、そんなことはありえない。一体なぜかしらね。
To deliver some instructions about the situation with Sakaki's father, I'd imagine. His speech lacked direct influence over our company, but now they've got a way to pressure us, maybe even give us marching orders.
正解かどうかは私の立場からは言えないわね。ただ陸将補からは風見雄二には別の塀の中に入ってもらった方がいいのではという話も出ていたわ。笑いながらだったから冗談のつもりなんだろうけど、内心はどう思っているんだか。
This really is one hell of a job, despite the low salary. I'm pushed into a mission, yanked abruptly off it, and get a nice trip to the doghouse for my trouble. Our employee benefit program is a shining example to the world.
ねえ雄二、ことはもう国レベルの話になってきているの。あなた一人が動いてどうなるような話じゃない。
What are you telling me to do?
学園から去って榊由美子と関係を断ちなさい。そうしないと今度は命令を持ってあなたに相対することになってしまう。
Thanks for the info in advance, JB. I see. So keeping me off the operation itself isn't enough for them anymore. Now they want me to keep away from Sakaki herself. I see that typo. This whole thing has been a headache from the start, and it's clearly only getting worse. However, there's one element of JB's story that's been bothering me for some time. Sakaki's father interfering with public assets on behalf of his private interests is understandable, if legally dubious. But on a more fundamental level, the plot's full of holes. The vague initial orders, the lack of support, the artificial abduction attempts, and the obvious radical change after Sakaki Yumiko hired me. Under a certain hypothesis, these contradictions all begin to make sense. Hey JB, there's one thing I want to ask you.
何よ。
Up until now, I assumed Sakaki's father had learned about a threat to his daughter's safety, and was taking a variety of measures to protect her.
ええ、そうよ。それが何か。
But considering all the events up until now, the relationships within the Sakaki family, and this odd pressure from the chief of staff, I start to think that the real threat to Sakaki Yumiko may be her own father. Any thoughts on that hypothesis? It had been in the back of my mind all along. If Sakaki Michiaki's objective was simply to protect his daughter, inducing Ichigaya to take me off the job despite my success would make very little sense. But if the man's goals are exactly the opposite, things start to fall into place. He was probably trying to intimidate his daughter at first, and I was deployed to serve as some sort of prop in that play. The attacker's constant complaint about what they signed up for might have referred to a scripted scenario handed down from their employer. In any case, at the present moment, the identity and goal of Sakaki Yumiko's enemy appears very clear. Her father is the one trying to abduct her. Isn't that right, JB? Her face hard and expressionless, JB quietly casts her eyes down. That's more than enough of an answer for me.
私が答えられないと分かっていて聞いているのでしょ。どうせ。
Sorry, Julia.
もう。
JB has her own position to consider. Middle management in my company means dealing with highly confidential matters. I can't even guess how many secrets she's obligated to keep. And JB's the very model of an uber professional German with a deeply ingrained reverence for playing by the rules. Nonetheless, I'm constantly using personal emotions and our shared history with my master to try and pry information out of her. I'm probably going straight to hell based on my treatment of women alone. Well, not that I have the slightest qualifications for heaven in any other respect. I'm worried about Sakaki. Think I'll be getting back to the dorm now.
本当にいいの？このままで。
I'm going to be in danger if I continue interfering in the Sakaki family's squabble. And from what JB's told me about Ichigaya's internal situation, there's a real chance my own people might end up trying to kill me. Sakaki's alone. If I leave, she'll lose what little she has left. Now that I've learned about Sakaki's past, closing my eyes and abandoning her is no longer an option. The girl spent her whole life profoundly isolated, and now, yet again, a group of self-centered adults are trying to tear her life apart. Although she cut herself off from others as a means of self-defense, somewhere deep down Sakaki's still desperately hoping to be rescued. I don't know if I can save her, but if my interference can create a positive change in her life, I'm going to keep interfering. I owe that much to the woman who pulled me free of the same dark swamp Sakaki's trapped in.
ねえ、ユージ。
What?
あなた、ひょっとしてユミコのことが好きなの？
Why is it that women always go straight for the romantic explanation? You're no better than those leering gossips in the dorm.
違うって言い切れる？
At the very least, that's not what this is about. Probably something closer to sympathy.
同情ね。
JB responds in an ambiguous tone that suggests she's only half convinced.
市ヶ谷を含め監視は厳しくなるわよ。場合によっては国に歯向かうようなことにもなりかねないわ。
Suppose so.
もう一度ちゃんと考えて。ユージ、 あなた自身のこともね。
Her voice seemed a little lonely at the end. A bright yellow car, badly out of place on the shabby country road, roars around a bend and disappears. The edge of the sky reddens little by little. Clouds begin to gather overhead, suggesting an evening shower to come. JB says difficult things sometimes. Turning over her final words in my mind, I slowly begin to walk the road home. The shower turns out to be a full-blown rainstorm, continuing well into the night. My room's filled with the rushing sound of the rain outside. I sit in bed and listen, completely unable to sleep. Insomnia is not exactly uncommon for me, but today, it's not the usual variety. I just can't get that conversation with JB out of my head long enough to nod off. Sakaki Yumiko, eh? Honestly, I didn't give her that much thought at first. Our first encounter certainly left a strong impression, but since then, she's tended to fade into the background as often as not. For one thing, I've always tried not to get too deeply involved with my classmates, and she's a deeply private person herself. At some point, I recognized we were pretty similar in that regard. Little by little, I developed something of an interest in her. And right now, she's weighing on my mind more heavily than anything else. Sitting up in my bed, I push the curtain open and look outside. It's coming down even harder than I expected. If you guys realize, each of these girls actually have something in common with Yuji. Goes to show that the next game is gonna be quite something. Because we never really know Yuji's past, only his present. But we are learning about every girl's past right now. Staring at the drops of water bouncing off my window, I feel my thoughts suddenly lurch inward. Yeah. Something almost like nausea wells up inside me. From the bottom of my throat, the depths of my mind, something ugly pushes its way to the surface. Think about myself? Those were JB's instructions from this afternoon, weren't they? Funny thing to ask of a pet dog. In between rough breaths, a few self-deprecating words spill out of my mouth. I'm a dog, raised and trained on taxpayer money to accomplish certain jobs. They allow me to bear pretense of humanity, but that privilege is conditional on my absolute loyalty and success. And now I'm on the verge of ignoring orders outright, opposing Ichigaya for the sake of one woman. Is it alright to betray your country to help a single person? My master never taught me the answer to that one. Sakaki, what do you want to do? A girl whose mother disappeared into a deep bog, a young woman betrayed by her father, a human being who lost sight of herself, consumed by a sense of meaninglessness. Staring at my faint reflection in the window, I asked Sakaki Yumiko a question. I know there's no answer waiting for me. Even Sakaki probably doesn't have one. But at this rate, she won't have the luxury of indecision for much longer. The drumbeat of the rain against my window finally dies down. In the silence, the darkness outside seems to grow thicker and more menacing. Resting both hands on the window, I continue to ask the night questions without answers. It feels like dawn may never come. And the next morning, we're blessed with such pleasant weather that it's hard to believe that storm passed us by only hours ago. Even so, Sakaki gives no sign of leaving her room. It's just about the time when she'd usually be heading out for the riverbank, but she doesn't even appear in the lobby. Her shoes sit untouched in the cabinet, slowly gathering dust. In only a few days, that simple daily routine has vanished, leaving nothing but a void behind. And yet again, I have nothing to do but stand around, engaging in silent soliloquies. Michiru and Amane eventually invite me on a shopping trip. Probably found it a little hard to watch me guarding Sakaki's invisible afterimage. It didn't seem like Sakaki was likely to step outside of her room today, so I decided to accept.
いやごめんねユージ。車もバイクも調子悪くてさ。その上いろいろと買うものだけはあってちょっと困ってたのよね。
We picked up a bunch of small, miscellaneous items for Imani on the previous shopping trip, but today, it's mainly bulky items like tissue paper and rice. All three of us have our hands pretty full by the end. Definitely would have been difficult with just the two girls. I don't really mind. Also, the sambar is one thing, but I'm having a really hard time imagining you carrying 10 kilos of rice on that motorcycle. What's a sambar?
まあそりゃそうよね。
I can just see her roaring down the street on that ridiculously low-riding chopper she calls Bobataro, with a big sack of rice strapped to her back like some backwoods grandma. It's kind of nice though that they actually give you reference to the other routes if you play them in order, because you wouldn't know what the hell Bobataro is if you didn't do Makina's route. Then again, Amane puttering along happily in a prototypical country mini truck packed to the gills with provisions would also be pretty comical, but unlike the first case, it's funny because she looks so perfectly appropriate in that picture. Probably better not to mention it.
ああもうこのトイレットペーパーってやつはなんでこう指が痛くなる作りにしてんのよ。お客様サポート機能してんの？
What are you talking about? Temporarily lowering a package of 12 recycled paper rolls onto the ground, Michiru shakes her hands in pain. Her index and middle fingers are probably marked with bright red lines. No way to get around it when you're carrying those things.
じゃあこれ使う？こないだマキナに届いてた荷物の持ち手なんだけどさ。おお、引っ越しの時に使う緑のあれじゃん。使う。すごいわね、アマネ。なんでこんなの持ってんのよ。いや、なんか使うかなって思って持ってたんだけどさ。あのさ、アマネ、助けてもらって言うのもなんだけどさ、あんた本当にオーバー。皆まで言わなくてもいいわよ。とっくに自覚してるからさ。どうでも大丈
Sorry,
夫。
thought she was dead.
男ってそういう母性のある女には弱いって聞くしさ。ほら、ユージからも何か言ってやってよ。ね。
That's what they call resourcefulness, Michiru. I think I probably like that sort of people. What? My listless response is met with two vaguely reproachful glares. What's with the look? And the groaning?
またしてもうちら置いてけぼりっすか。置いてけぼりっすね。今日これで3回目っすね。
Do me a favor and cut it out with the synchronized scorn. And what do you mean the third time? They answer my question with a pair of exaggerated American-style shrugs. After another set of deep, simultaneous sighs, they begin talking to each other instead of me.
聞きましたか、マネさん。この野郎、さっきまでの2回のスルーはカウントすらしてなかったみたいっすよ。マジ空気っすね。何もないっすね。こっちは気遣って話しかけてんのにマジ空気っすよ。やってられねえっすよ。
You don't have to be considerate, Amane. I don't think Yuji's gonna notice you being considerate. So it would seem I've fallen out of the conversation twice before without even realizing it. Putting aside this irritating little routine, I do feel slightly guilty about whiffing on their thoughtful attempts to feed me setup lines. Yeah, I guess I was a little lost in thought. Didn't mean to ignore you guys. Sorry about that. Amani and Michiru glance at each other and exchange brief, slightly tired little sighs. But when Amani turns back to look me in the eye, there's an oddly gentle expression on her face.
榊さんのことよね。
Yeah, that's right. Saw right through me. It's times like these that make you realize women control the world on a pretty fundamental level. I don't think so, Yuji, but whatever you say.
まあ心配よね。解雇されたとは言っても、あの子の周りに何も起こらないって保証があるわけじゃないし、そもそも何が起こってるのかもよく分かってないしね。
How has Sakaki been doing lately, from what you've seen? Anything noticeably different? Amani shakes her head slowly.
パッと見は変わんないけど、やっぱ少し落ち込んでるっぽいわね。マキナがいつもの調子で突っ込んでも寂しそうな顔して、そうねとか言ってるだけだもんね。 普段の由美子とは明らかに違うというか。
I see. Sakaki's trying to at least appear calm around me. But even so, it seems she isn't completely able to hide the turmoil underneath the surface.
まあそのさ、私には難しくてわかんないけど、あんたまでそんなんじゃみんな一緒くたで落ち込んじゃうからさ、とりあえずから元気だけでも出しときなって。
I guess, to some degree, what Michiru is saying is not wrong, but forcing yourself to act cheerful is also kinda counterproductive sometimes, Michiru.
そうそう、ここでごちゃごちゃ考えててもしゃあないわけやし、家戻ったらごちそう作ったるさかい、それ食べて元気出しやな。
Amane delivers this line with a guffaw and a friendly smack to my ass. Not only am I unable to help Sakaki, I've ended up getting my classmates worried about me. Truly pathetic. What am I supposed to do? Yet again, I find myself mired in a simple question that has no clear answer. What's that? Just as we were getting close to the dorm, I noticed something slightly out of place. It's the sound of multiple engines moving away from the entrance.
なんか車の音したよね。学園長は夏休みでいないはずだし、何なんだろう。
Amane is the only one here with a motor vehicle of any kind, so it's pretty rare to hear engines running this close to the school. The principal and JB would be the main suspects, but as Michiru pointed out, the former is on vacation, and the latter wouldn't just disappear before I came back. Spurred by a sudden sense of unease, I set off toward the dorm at a run.
あ、ユージ？どうしたのよ急に。お兄ちゃん、大変なのよさ。
The instant I opened the dorm's front door, Makina comes running up to me. What happened, Makina?
いきなりユミちゃんが。マキナ、落ち着いて何があったか話して。急だったのよさ。ママ姉たちが買い物に出かけてすぐぐらいに車が急に止まって、ほんでユミちゃんはいるかって聞かれて、私が答えないでいたら無理やりにでも中に入るぞって脅してきて。怪我とかなかったの？あんた大丈夫だったの？怪我とかさせられる前にユミちゃんから出てきちゃったのよさ。
Sakaki came out? Makina nods repeatedly.
ユミちゃん、これ以上みんなに迷惑かけられないからって荷物を持ってきて、そのまま車に乗っちゃったのよさ。そんな。どこ行くかとか言ってなかった？
This time, the girl slowly shakes her head from side to side.
一言も言わなかったのよさ。みんな黙ったままですごく怖かったの。そっか、よしよし。
Amane hugs the anxious-looking Makina close and begins to lightly stroke her head.
ユージ、どうしたの？顔怖いよ。
Michiru looks up at me, uneasiness in her eyes. You went with them voluntarily? Is this really what you want, Sakaki? An image of Sakaki's desolate expression on the night she dismissed me floats to the surface of my mind. A message. An electronic chime from my cell phone temporarily interrupts my line of thought. Sakaki! When I read those lines, the face that flashes before my eyes don't belong to Sakaki. It's the face of a woman who once spoke the same words to me over and over again. A woman who never accomplished anything, never broke free. And then, a man with an angular face, reaching his hands out for me, swinging his fists mercilessly into my face. The memories seem to rise up out of the tiny LCD screen and push their way into the present. That idiot! Closing the cell phone, I snap out the words reflexively.
ユージ？どうしたの？何かあったの？
It's probably a goodbye of some sort. Ignoring their concern, I fire off a question at Makina. Makina, what was the model and color of the cars? And how many were there?
黒のエンチュリーで2 の良さ。
I see. Nodding, I glance quickly around the room one final time. I'm going.
ユージ！え、ちょっとあんたどこ行く気なの？
That's the last thing I want to hear from you, Sakaki. I'm sick of it. Probably another apology, huh? I won't hesitate anymore. We both made mistakes, but I'm not about to let us repeat them. I sprint toward the front gate as fast as I can. Shit. The pair of cars carrying Sakaki already left a minute or two ago. For the moment, I need to get my hands on something I can use to pursue them. But of course, there aren't any cars conveniently lying around with the key in the ignition. Amani's motorcycle and Sambar are out of commission too. What do I do? Just as I'm running through various possibilities in my head. I hear someone humming a cheerful tune, soon followed by a carefree greeting.
風見さん、お戻りでしたか。
I kind of remember this scene. This is gonna be like one of the most anime dumbest scene ever. This is gonna be so anime, damn it. Sachi's return, on a bicycle. Judging from the tranquil smile on her face, it seems she missed the earlier commotion entirely. If this was an actual road bike, I could imagine Yuji actually being able to, you know, like chase after the car, because I myself can go head to head with a car at like 60 to 70 kilos an hour. But depending on what bicycle Sachi is using, I don't think it's possible. And this is probably just a typical mama chari, which is like those bicycles that have a front basket and a back seat for kids. Sachi, that's... Her bike is a medium-sized modern model with small tires, more than a little out of sync with the mate uniform. Sachi lowers herself to the ground easily with a little whoopsie-daisy, then lowers the kickstand with one smooth movement of her leg. A mini velo, eh? Okay, this one makes a lot more sense. Mini velo actually is pretty fast, because they can have the same gearing as a road bike, it's just different geometry. Is my cycling fanatic going out yet? Or like, you know, random cycling trivia? Basically, is it is it noticeable that I'm pretty much into cycling yet?
はい、そうです。さすがは風見さん、よくご存知で。
An ivory-colored frame with two cute little wheels on either end. They also have smaller wheels, usually about 20 inches compared to a 700C. Since the tire diameter is small, it's easy to get it moving quickly. Even knew a few guys in my company with a passion for these things.
ここ最近、ウィーグレから毎日のようにメールが届いてまして、それで思い切って買ってしまった次第です。あ、ウィーグレというのはイギリスの通販サイトなんですが、風見さんご存知でしたか？
Is it actually Wiggle? I guess it's Ribble or something. I've heard people say these things are small but well made. Looks like it's true. With a few quick movements, I inspect the handles, a seat, and the quality of the tires. Looks like she might have bought a slightly customized model. The frame seems to have been strengthened in places to endure bumpier conditions. This area does have a lot of unsurfaced or poorly maintained roads. Very typical of Sachi to account for these things in advance. I can't believe you're actually into cycling, Sachi. Can a woman get any more perfect? Damn it! Is my bias showing again?
直訳すると、ヘイサチ、ポンドがゴロ安で自転車安いから、フィッシュ&チップス感覚でチャリでも買わないかい？とか、そんな感じなんですが。
Are pounds cheap during that age? In 2010? I don't think that it's that cheap, right? Maybe the Japanese yen was not as weak as it is now, back then.
そうそう、そもそもミニベロのベロというのはフランス語で自転車を意味してるんですが。
Sachi, you think I could write this without issues?
はい、もちろんです。整備も万全ですよ。試しに軽く乗ってみますか？
Oh, not just a little test ride, Sachi. We're going like 60 kilos with this. Sounds good. I swing myself onto the mini velo and put my feet on the pedals.
うわ、早速乗ってくださるんですか？それは何よりです。今しがた油も差したばかりなので、実に素晴らしい走行性能が確保でき。って、風見さん？
Don't worry, I'll pay for it, Sachi. See you later.
ヤッホーミハモライダーかっこいいあれ
Its wheels whistling cheerfully, Sachi's Minivelo zips jauntily along the road. This thing's fundamentally designed for riding around town, but fortunately, it's capable of reaching a decent speed as well. The cycle computer installed in the center indicates an average velocity of around 35 kilometers an hour. Can't compete with a motorcycle or anything, but it's still excellent performance for the size. 35 is actually not bad. This really is going to be tough. That said, I'm up against motor vehicles, and they have a head start. There's a decent amount of traffic since it's summer vacation and all, but they can still leave me in the dust easily enough. I'm not going to get anywhere at this rate. Fortunately, they're traveling on a winding, narrow prefectural road of the sort you'll often find on this type of small peninsula. Country roads present their own opportunities for the experienced rider. With a little skill and luck, it might be possible to catch them even riding a minivelo with a maximum speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Only 50 kilos per hour? That's pretty low, actually. Then again, this is 2010. Road bikes nowadays are actually pretty insane, even minivelos. I guess carbon wasn't as popular back in 2010. Assuming that the cars are headed for the metropolitan area, the entrance to the toll road, 15 kilometers ahead, will probably be my last chance to catch them. Any further than that, and a bicycle just won't be enough. Alright. I feel bad for Sachi, but I'm going to have to treat this thing a little roughly. Leaning heavily to the right, I turn the bicycle onto a farm road that leads to a nearby mountain. The tires crunch through rough pebbles. My whole body is jolted by small impacts running up through the frame. Soon, I'm surrounded by forest. The trail ahead is one of the more blatant examples of a bad road you're ever likely to see. Still, I push forward without hesitating. Within seconds, leaves and branches are slapping heavily against my face and arms from all sides. I've been prepared for a badly maintained road from the start, but this almost exceeds my expectations. Truly terrible conditions. This region was once used as an army maneuvering ground. Wouldn't surprise me if this thing dates back to those days. The designers clearly weren't interested in ensuring a pleasant or easy ride. It's impossible to avoid catching the tires on the natural holes and rocks that litter the path. I struggle along as best I can, using the handles and my own weight to avoid the worst obstacles. Still, no matter how skillfully I ride, my speed keeps falling. My feelings of impatience are giving way to outright frustration. God damn it! Even so, this is a definite shortcut. Cutting straight through will get me to my objective much more quickly than following that meandering road around and around. Lowering my head, I pump the pedals as fast as possible, warding off branches with one hand when necessary. The slope of the road begins to grow slightly easier. Eventually, the overhanging trees begin to thin out as well. And suddenly, my field of vision expands dramatically. Seems I've reached the summit of this foothill. The trail is increasingly level underneath me, and it's less of a challenge to move the pedals. Best of all, the practically non-existent road finally changes to something more worthy of the name. Alright, there you are. I catch a glimpse of two black sedans on the prefectural road stretching out below. Cars like that aren't common around here, and they're exactly as Makina described them. Sakaki has to be in one or the other. Damn, that's a nice bike. Sachi really treated herself. That's probably aluminum. Aluminum rim brake. I kind of want to see how many gearing it has. Okay, yeah, 2 front chain rings, I think. Or is that just one? I don't know. Can't really see it. Can't really see the brand too. But it looks pretty nice. I personally don't really like minivelos all that much. I'm more of a road bike kind of guy. Yeah, this frame size is way too small for Yuji. Sorry, enough enough me fanboying at bicycles. Now it's just a question of catching up, I guess. That winding road they're following only continues for another 7 kilometers or so. I've got to somehow get it ahead of them and set up an ambush before they get off. Doesn't help that I don't know exactly where they're going. The city's my best guess, and since they're on this road, I can speculate they're trying to take the highway, but I have no proof. If they take a different route, I'm... What's SOL again? Something out of luck, right? Soul out of luck? I don't know. Either way. At this point, I realize that the cell phone in my breast pocket is vibrating. Amane. 8 missed calls. They must have been startled by that sudden exit. Could always just fill her in later, but I feel bad to make them worry too much. I decide to answer the call. That you, Amane? I think you're aware, but I'm sort of in the middle of something. Let's talk later. Sorry about that. I'll get in touch when things have calmed down a little. What? Look, I'm trying to follow the cars in question. Don't really have time to... I see. So that's what this is about. Ah, sorry. That would be a big help. Did Sakaki get in touch or something? Don't do this, by the way, guys. It's very dangerous, especially when you're going as fast as Yuji. Not perfectly, but we should be able to hold a conversation. What's this information? I'm following the Mishima Cape coastline. The cars are heading north in the prefectural road, and I'm taking a shitty mountain road running almost parallel. Bit of a shortcut. No. I guess they were heading to Tokyo since Sakaki's father is involved. Am I wrong? Come to think of it, I think Sakaki mentioned this before. Apparently it was built more or less for the exclusive use of the company's top brass and their families. Stuck in my mind is a particularly impressive example of late capitalist success. True, very true. Yeah, now that you mention it, but I heard they weren't using it anymore. Seriously? I see. Makes sense. I can't do a thing if they ship her out. If they ship her out of here in the air. That heliport isn't far from the interchange leading to the highway. Maybe 700 or 800 meters. It's entirely plausible given their current position, and it's hard to think the unusual situation there is a coincidence. Forget fishy. It's probably where they're taking her. Alright, I'm going to end the call. Thanks. It's helpful to know their destination, but that doesn't make this chase any easier. Once she gets on that helicopter, it's game over. I absolutely have to catch up before then somehow. But seriously, this road is the worst. Branches slap against my face, vines catch in my hair, and the rocks randomly lying across the ground are constantly slowing the rotation of my tires. The cars, visible only for brief moments in between gaps in the trees, seem to slowly be pulling further away. My odds of catching up are getting longer. I'm going to need some luck at this point. The mountain road I chose as a shortcut was ideal in terms of distance. At full speed, I might have gotten ahead of them by now. But riding on hilly terrain while pushing my way through thick undergrowth cost me more. Cost me even more time than I'd expected. Damn it! Damn you typos! That's a double more. I have to take advantage of the time lost when they disembark. It's not like they can just drive the whole car onto the helicopter. At the very least, it'll take them a minute or two to get everyone out of the car and into the chopper. Not that they've pulled ahead, I can only hope that gives me the chance I need to close the gap. Practically tumbling down the descending path branching off the mountain trail, I finally rejoined the prefectural road. The heliport in question is only 400 or 500 meters ahead, but the cars are no longer visible. Can I make it? Ignoring the traffic light ahead, I let my momentum carry me across the intersection, weaving between the cross traffic. My ears ring from a dozen honking horns as I rush directly toward the heliport. Don't do this, by the way. If you're a freaking bicycle rider, don't do this, alright? It's dangerous. You're gonna die. A small facility on a sprawling plot of land surrounded by fences comes into view. This has got to be it, if I remember the map correctly. With a powerful squeal from the brakes, I force the bike from its maximum speed to a halt. Damn, too late. Just as I'm rolling up to the fence, the sound of a helicopter rotor fills the air. There are ways to get a chopper back on the ground, but few that involve it staying in one piece, and none that are available to me now. And following a car is one thing, but chasing a helicopter on a mini velo would just be absurd. I mean, forget a mini velo. No matter what kind of vehicle you have, keeping up with that thing from the ground is going to be very close to impossible. So much for that plan. I watch as the helicopter slowly rises into the sky and turns its nose to the west. For some reason, the direction of its flight strikes me as a little strange. Wait, they're not going to the city? The helicopter is heading almost directly away from Tokyo. It maintains a course to the west, flying parallel to the Shonan coastline. If I remember correctly, to the west of here, there's... But as I'm thinking about the helicopter's possible destination, a completely out-of-place Kansai drawl rings out in the dry summer air. What, you talking to me? Am I gonna steal his car? Compared to Amani's relatively soft Kyoto dialect, he's got a seriously strong accent, probably from the Kawachi area. I see. In other words, my presence in the middle of the road is obstructing your passage. He's got a dome of hair bleached such a blinding blonde that even Michiru would bow down, and a sharp beak nose that actually works for him somehow. Expensive clothes too. About the last guy you'd expect to have such a thick drawl. A character redesign might be in order. But that blonde hair isn't the only thing that clashes with the Kansai accent. Once I get a look at the cars he's driving, my eyes stop moving entirely. A Gallardy Spider? I have no idea about cars, by the way, so I don't know what this is referencing. What's a car like this doing here? Of all the out-of-place things in front of me, this is without a doubt the most bizarrely misplaced of all. It's a Lamborghini. It's a Lamborghini's company's signature model, an extreme luxury sports car in the class of a Ferrari. Well, I might be dumb in terms of like mobile stuff, you know, automobile stuff, but even I know what a Lamborghini and a Ferrari is. With a sticker price that could buy you a nice chunk of real estate. Don't say.
ビビるやろランボリギーニ乗ってるやつはおってもこんなに乗ってるのはわしぐらいやでちょっと兄ちゃんベタベタ触らんとってんか
Thanks, blonde man. Yeah. This thing's about as fast as they come. Seriously hard to believe I'm seeing a car like this in Japan.
まあせやな俺もこうもうちょいそれ相応の場所に行ったらバーッとスピード出すねんけどな日本やと捕まってしまうさかいにな
Anyway, you seriously got a nice ride here.
なあもう分かったやろわしパティ行かなあかんねんはよどいてくれんと時間に間に合わん
Leaning in close to the man's beak nose, I speak in a very deliberate tone of voice. A very nice ride. So dumb. In inverse proportion to the man's fading shriek, the needle in the speedometer soars steadily upward. Amazing. It's my first time actually riding in one of these things. The acceleration's powerful enough to make my whole body tremble. If this was a carefree joyride, I'd be perfectly content to tear around all day in this thing. This is a truly magnificent car.
せやから言ってたやろなんぼしたと思っとんねん
Probably about, I don't know, maybe 200 grand? More or less? Maybe more. It's impossible to hold a conversation unless we quite literally scream at each other. From what my new friend tells me, the car itself hasn't been remodeled in any way, but it still roars as loudly as any hot rod I've ever seen. Absolutely not the sort of car you should be shipping to Japan of all places.
おおスピード 出しすぎやろ。兄ちゃんスピード見て頼む。
I feel sorry for Sachi. The mini velo is just ditched somewhere. Puttering around town doing the speed limit like in a monster like this would just be disrespectful, don't you think? I like your face, Yuji. That's the first time you've shown that face. As the man's pressed back into his seat by the G-force, his attempt at speech slurs incoherently into a high-pitched little shriek. In the sky ahead, the helicopter continues its calm journey west along the coast. Maybe the wind's a little rough today. For whatever reason, it's flying at a pretty relaxed pace. Hasn't been getting too far ahead of us. Of course, that'd still be completely impossible without this absolute beast of a car, but...
兄ちゃんさっきも言うたけどもやんな。車は貸してるさかいちゃんと時間になったら返してや。パーティー遅れたらめっちゃ怒られるね。お土産の七面鳥も持ってかんと。
I see. Wouldn't do to show up late to a party, I suppose.
せやだからそのどこに向かっとるんかだけでも教えてくれへん
Man,
か。
time for some stupid-ass anime moment. This is so dumb, man. This route is dumb. Sure, there's a small corporate airport not far from here.
空港
Owned and operated by East Beach Transport, a company under the East Beach Railways group umbrella. It's mainly used for in-company freight planes carrying parts and equipment from overseas. But every once in a while, a private jet does fly out of there, and a helicopter carrying Sakaki is headed straight for it. You understand where I'm going with this?
はあわかるわけないっていうか榊って一体誰や。
Once that airplane takes off, it's going to become very close to impossible for me to help Sakaki. I'd probably ship her off to some foreign school if I was in his shoes. There's always a risk of information leaking if you hide her in Japan, but that risk gets a lot smaller overseas.
だからそんな裏事情はどうでもええねん。あとどんくらい借りるのかそれだけ答えてくれたらええんやって。
Right, sorry. We should be there in less than 20 minutes at this pace. Just tough it out for a while.
ほんまやろうな。マジ勘弁してや。
The helicopter seems to have increased its speed ever so slightly. It's very gradual, but I think they're starting to increase the distance between us. I'm going to pick up the pace a little.
まだあげるの？嘘やろ。ちょっともう。
Don't talk, you'll bite your tongue. The instant we turned onto a straight stretch of a road, I pressed the gas pedal to the floor.
はいはい、ありがとうございます。先生のご紹介でしたら私としても安心でして。はい、娘も本格的に英語を学びたいと前々から言っておりましたので。もちろんです。門間さんの件も含めまして近々そちらにもお伺いしようかと思っておりまして。はい、そちら方面についてもどうぞご期待くださいませ。はい、ではこれにて失礼いたします。入りなさい。
失礼します。
状況はどうだ？
今、ヘリで空港へ向かっております。順調に行けば、明日早朝にもアメリカへ到着する予定です。
順調に行けばでは困る。万全を期したまえ。
はい。失礼いたしました。
例の軍人崩れのガキはどうした？
由美子様をお連れする時も姿は一切見えませんでした。おそらくは陸将補の命令で遠ざけられたのではないかと。
そうか。油断はしないようにな。
はい、わかりました。失礼いたします。
海外にでも運んでしまえば、そうそう変な虫もつかんだろうさ。榊家のためにも、おとなしくしていてもらうぞ、由美子。
The scenery flies past at astonishing speed. There's a bit more traffic now, but the oncoming cars flinch in terror the instant they see us approaching. They pull over to the shoulder one by one as we roar forward down the road. Still can't catch him. Most of my concentration is focused on manipulating the steering wheel, but every few seconds I glance over at the helicopter from the corner of my eye. It hasn't really picked up speed, but the terms of this race simply weren't fair to begin with. They're flying a direct course through the sky with no obstacles or signs to worry about, completely different from chugging along on a public road, no matter how nice your car might be.
まだなんかまだなんか
My friend's voice has by now lost almost all of its initial vigor, but he keeps up a constant stream of questions about the time. Seems he's really worried about that party of his. Okay, one more turn. It's a straight shot after this. The car drifts into the intersection, tires squealing as the rear swings out to the side. A small sign for the airport flashes past in the fraction of a second before we speed off again. Another 3 kilometers to go. I've got to beat them there and find a way to intercept their cargo. For now, I simply tear down the road running parallel to the coast at full speed. The entrance to the airport comes into view, then a small control tower and a number of nondescript cargo aircraft. Among them, there's a single plane that's conspicuously different from the others. It's a smaller craft with stripes in the East Beach Express red and blue on its flank. Has to be a passenger jet belonging to the company. And just at its side, the helicopter we've been chasing all this time has already landed. Shit! Too late again? As the crow flies, it's only 300 meters away. Close enough that I can actually see the small group of people boarding the jet. I grope desperately for some sort of solution. But even if I ran my way into the airport, there's not much I can do now that they're fully embarked. Frustrating as it is to admit, I'm out of ideas. The jet begins to taxi for takeoff practically the instant the door shuts behind the last passenger. So much for my wishful thinking about a multi-hour delay.
もうここ着いたのもうそろそろ勘弁してやなあ俺七面鳥届けなあかんってさっきも言ったやろ
This is so dumb. Sorry, but I don't have the time to chat about your bird right now. Bird? The instant the word leaves my mouth, something occurs to me. Hey,
何よ
I've got a question. That turkey of yours, it frozen?
そんなこと聞いて何になるっちゅうね今そんなこと答えても
This is so dumb. Hurry!
冷凍です保冷剤も詰めてましてまだこっちこっちの状態やと
I see. A wise choice. Hopping out of the driver's seat, I walk over to the passenger side of the car and lightly grab hold of the man's shoulder. You're on the wheel, alright? Just do exactly what I tell you.
おいだゆこちゃん空港まで着けばええって言っとったのにこれ以上何せっちゅうね
Damn, I feel sorry for this guy. He's just dragged out of nowhere. This time I lean down and bellow into his ear. Hurry up!
お父様よりお聞きかとは思いますが、このまま冬季はアメリカに向かいます。
アメリカ？
はい。お聞きではありませんでしたか？
なるほど。厄介払いにはちょうど良さそうな場所ね。
後ほど資料をご用意いたします。お疲れでしょうし、お休みになられた後にでもお目を通していただければと。
わかりました。
The car smashes through the tin fence separating the airport from the public road with a satisfying crunch. Aiming for the runway where the jet's already in position for takeoff, we charge forward at maximum speed.
もうどないしょフロント直さんとあかんよなこないだぶつけて直してみたばっかりやのに
Don't worry, you should still have insurance, my man. Alright, line her up right beside that jet. After that, just hold steady and keep the accelerator to the floor. While shouting instructions to my good friend, I retrieve a large, flashy box from the back seat.
ちょっと何すんねんなそれ俺の七面鳥やでなあ
A passenger jet takes off at around 285 kilometers per hour. We should just barely be able to catch up in this thing.
おいちょっと話聞けやいや聞いてくれません
We can make it if you keep that pedal all the way down. I'm counting on you.
何すんの
I take out the enormous lump of bird flesh from its bed of cold gel packs and hold it high into the air like a championship trophy. So dumb. Ugh, the wind pressure. We're traveling at a speed sufficient to lift an airplane into the sky. The moment I stand up from behind a windshield, the air rushing past shakes my body violently. I don't think it's safe to actually be out of the windshield at 285 kilometers an hour, Yuji. I think you might actually have just died if you try to do that in real life. Somehow holding myself steady, I dig my fingers into the turkey and move my hands slightly forward. It's an absurd plan, and I don't have a chance to rehearse. I can only hope I get the timing and angle of release correct. Still, I've got no choice but to try. Hey, can't you get this thing going any faster?
むっちゃいいよな、もう無理やって。それより俺の鳥どうすんねや。
It won't be possible to catch up if the plane hits V1 speed. We've got to make it before then. Alright, good. Keep going like this. The car slips out from under the engine and begins to push slightly ahead. Carefully watching the distance, I wait for the right moment. Another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, now! Throwing both arms up with all my might, I fling the cold lump into the air and let the wind carry it back. The turkey soars majestically into the sky and then, instantly captured by the powerful suction of the intake, curves toward the engine. So dumb.
何の音だ
So dumb.
バードストライクです。エンジンに鳥を巻き込んだようです。なんだと止めないのか無理です。急停止します。早く原因を調べろ。代わりに止める機の手配を急げ。はい。何か外で異変が起こったかもしれん。停止したらすぐに調べるんだ。わかりました。よし、行け。はい。どうした？
何かあったの？
大丈夫です。様子を見てまいりますので、こちらにてお待ちください。おい、今行くぞ。何があった？ああ！
何なの？一体何が？
She's sitting at the very back of the 20-seat cabin, crouching as if to hide herself. Her frightened expression changes to one of stunned astonishment the moment our eyes meet. Yo, I speak in the same casual tone I always use to greet her in the classroom.
どうして？あなたにこれ以上迷惑をかけたくないから。だから。
Before Sakaki can continue, I snap open my cell phone and show her the screen.
これって私の送った。
Yeah, she's probably intended it to be her goodbye, but instead, those words brought me here. It's probably like I'm sorry, right? Again with the I'm sorry, huh? I told you not to say that anymore, didn't I? Sakaki's bewildered expression crumples. All of a sudden, she's on the verge of breaking down.
だって私あなたに本当に迷惑ばかりかけて、だから謝らなきゃって思って。あなただけじゃない、寮の他の子にも、今まで私に関わってきて親切にしてくれた人にも、みんな。
It's not like I don't understand how she feels. And I think this is like a very Japanese thing, like not wanting to inconvenience people. But to the people that you truly are close with, I think it's okay to occasionally lean on each other, you know? Messing up here and there. Little by little, her eyes fill with tears. Her voice quavers as she wipes them away with her hands. In that case, keep going until you can repay them properly. Nobody wants your apologies, alright? Try gratitude instead.
感謝で。
That's right. With a nod to Sakaki, I slowly move my hand off the seat and extend it forward. Once, when I was at absolute rock bottom, my master reached out a hand to me. And now, imitating her as best I can, I reach out to Sakaki.
風見くん。
Sakaki observes my outstretched hand uncertainly. With eyes still full of hesitation, she looks up to me. You're right here, Sakaki Yumiko. I can see you just fine. Come with me. For years, she's refused to acknowledge the girl in the mirror as anything but a character in a play. Shrinking back from the world, she lost her place in it entirely. And so, I begin with a simple affirmation of her existence. I'll get you out of here. I'll hold you up until you can walk. and I'll speak until you find your voice. Don't dance on anyone's strings. You can live your life however you want. I came here to show you how.
逃げるの？
Not quite. I want us to search for an answer.
探す？
Sakaki Yumiko is a daughter of the Sakaki family. She's also, first and foremost, a human being. In the course of life filled with painful events completely beyond her control, she very nearly lost sight of that. But it's an absolute fact. Right now, this girl's lost the ability to live on her own terms. So until she can find her answer, I'll just have to keep her safe. Now that I've made that decision, I'm not going to back down. No matter what comes next, even if my own country comes after me. Let's go, Yumiko. Sakaki reacts strongly to that word. I haven't used her name since the day we reached our first wary truce. Today, I'm breaking that seal. It's the clearest way I have to demonstrate how I see her now. Come on, Yumiko. I bring my hand still closer. I think she understands. I'm not talking to the daughter of a railroad tycoon or an antisocial problem child. I'm talking to a fellow human being. And because she understands, her face grows all the more uncertain. A part of her is questioning whether she deserves this. Yumiko. I thought that was Yumiko on the upper right, on the lower left, I mean. Instead of saying it's alright, I call out her name and push my hand forward. Sakaki's breath catches in her throat. She moves her mouth slightly without producing a sound, as if to practice. And then, somewhat hesitantly, she speaks.
いいの？本当に？
Yes.
わかったわ。
Yumiko nods and takes my hand. At first, it's a gentle, hesitant touch, but soon, her grip grows firm. I clasp her hand tightly in return and draw her up out of her seat. There'll be others coming soon. We need to hurry. Leading her by the hand, I exit the plane by the escape chute. A quick glance around suggests no one's pursuing us yet. Still, I lift at a run, pulling Yumiko along behind me. It's the first time I've ever really held the girl's hand. It feels slender in mine, surprisingly small. From now on, I'll have to lead Yumiko safely forward, shielding her from danger. It's a serious responsibility. I knew that from the start, but right now it feels terribly real. Having someone to protect really weighs you down, Asako. Was it like this for my master when she pulled me along all those years ago? Right now, Yumiko's small hand feels unbelievably heavy. Can a piece of trash like me really carry this kind of weight? I can feel doubt oozing out of me like sweat. That's no good. It'll only make Yumiko uneasy if I start brooding. Shaking my head a little, I resettle my hand around hers. A tight grip so that it can't slip away. Beyond the quickly parting clouds, I can see the sky gradually turning to red. Night will be here before long. Alright, I think I'm actually gonna end the episode right here. I think this is a perfect place to stop. I actually don't remember if Yumiko has a bad ending. Yeah, I don't remember if there was a choice or not in Yumiko's route. I remember the scene. Up until the scene, I still remember. I remember Yumiko's flashback too. But after this, I don't think I remember much. That whole sequence was pretty stupid though. It's like so anime. I don't remember if it was in the anime or not, but it might have been. I don't think the fights were actually in the anime though, sadly. But I guess, what is it, like voicing it out and understanding the characters more? Or, you know, like, it's not as bad as I remember it to be. I guess, yeah, when you don't like a specific character because of what they do and what because of what they did, it kind of stretches on towards the whole experience, right? But if you actually look at it objectively, or not objectively, at least like from a neutral perspective, whether you don't hate the character or whether you like the character, it's still a very nice experience, like going through this route. That's what I feel. But yeah, when I was younger, I definitely was a lot more. I definitely wasn't as open minded. But still, I think when I was reading this as I was younger, I already know that this was on a whole different level of writing compared to all the visual novels that are out there already. Considering that a lot of visual novels out there are just that are just fan service bait. Sad to say, but it is what it is, and I can't deny that I also play my moeges and nukiges from time to time. But alright, I'm gonna go take a short break over here. Probably get myself some milk and some more coffee or something before I... should I do my 4 hours right now? Or should I do it in after like one more episode? We'll see. I should probably get some food though for the 100 kilos. But alright, I think I'm gonna call it an episode right here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a like if you like it. Sub if you haven't. Go to the Patreon if you want to have newly or you know, like early releases of these episodes. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.